Hi everyone, welcome to Traveling Misknits. My name is Pia and I am so happy that you're joining me here today for a little chat about yarn and knitting. I have had a lot of knitting time this week and I feel like I've made the most of it. I will say that with the insane amount of knitting that has happened, I could have easily finished either one of my 3 whips. Easily. But I didn't. Because for some reason, this week for me has been all about the process, the knitting itself, not about the project, which is really surprising to me. I am generally a product knitter, very focused on the thing that I am creating. I mean, for every project that I have ever picked up, I've made these elaborate stories about how this would be the knit, the epic knit, the one knit to rule them all. I'm not the only one, am I? I always figure that this particular sweater, that's going to be the sweater that I wear all the time, my signature sweater. And that always turns out to be true until I pick up the next whip. But yeah, this week, it's been all about the process. It's been about creating the stitches, not the sweaters, which has been surprising and wonderful. I have really enjoyed myself. I have enjoyed myself so much. It has been absolutely wonderful to just roll around in all of the knitting, pick up whatever I fancied, work on it for as long as I wanted to, and then pick up something else. It's been a glorious week. At one point during the week, I had this really strange thought. All of a sudden, I found myself wondering, how much knitting is enough? Is there going to be a point where, okay, this is enough. I am satisfied. I have had enough knitting. I mean, theoretically, yes. Knowing that the nature of all things is to be impermanent. Of course, there is a point where there has been enough knitting. I just haven't found it yet. It seems to always be reluctantly that I put down my knitting. It's always with this, just one more round, just finishing this repeat. But yeah, I am gonna continue my quest for the answer, how much knitting is enough, because the quest itself is a lot of fun. Yeah, I wish that all weeks could be like this one, because for sure there are times where my knitting is frustrating, where I rip back more than I actually create, and it's just not been like that this week. It's just been pure and simple, wonderful. And I can't wait to show you the things that I've been knitting on. As I said, I did not finish anything, even though I would easily have been able to if I had focused on one whip at a time. But then I wouldn't have had this glorious week of just relaxing into the stitches that would just flow from one needle to the other, creating these intricate little dances of yarn on needles. Oh, it's really poetic. And also, as I said, a lot of fun. I am wearing something new. Not something I finished this week, something that I finished last week. I showed you this sweater on the blocking mats. Today it is all done. I told you last week how I usually don't weave in my ends before I finish the blocking, because sometimes during the blocking process I will see that I need to either shorten or lengthen or just change little things. It is so much easier when you don't have to pick out all the woven in ends. But this time it was perfect, just as it came off the mats. I am loving this sweater. This is the Epic Knit, my signature sweater. Until I finish the next one. Now, I am really happy with this one. This is just the kind of sweater that I like. Something that is easy to wear. You just pull it over your head and you're good to go. You don't have to think too much about it. Although you can. You can add a fancy shirt like I did today, and then a nice blazer on top, some heels, and you are good to go out. Or you can just use the sweater as it is with your yoga pants and some thick socks and curl up on the couch. This is a very versatile sweater and I am loving it. It is my Aurora sweater. I have made a few modifications. I shortened the neck. It has like a funnel neck in the original pattern, but I decided to go with the crew neck version because I like to add a shirt under. I also shortened the yoke slightly. I think it was the last 3 increases here for the yoke. I did them on every round rather than on every other round to just get to the stitch count that I needed a little bit faster, so that the armhole wouldn't be too deep. The sweater does have fitted sleeves, which is really nice when you want to wear a jacket over. So I thought, oh, I'm just gonna shorten the sleeve opening here just a little bit. Oh, one more thing. I also shortened the ribbing on the body because I really often tuck in my sweaters and I prefer a shorter ribbing when I tuck things in because I don't want the ribbing sticking out of the tuck. And also I don't want, as I said last week, the bulk happening in this section of my body. I can provide that. I don't need a sweater to do that for me. But yeah, let's take a look at my whips so that you can see what knitting I have done on them this week. First, we have in the project bag from my friend Bitten. Again, I say this so often, Bitten does not sell her bags, but if you are going to join us for the Knitathon next weekend, you could be the lucky winner of one of Bitten's bags. But in this bag, I have my 3rd version of the cat number 7, the pattern that was released today, the pattern that I created for the spring Knitathon. And this is just a big blue blob. You can't really see the shape or the form of the sweater because I am now doing the ribbing on the body on a rather short needle. If I was using longer cords on my needles, it would be really convenient. I would be able to try my sweaters on all the time without all of the fuss with the barber cord or the try-on tubing. If the cord is long enough, you can just pull your sweater over your head and try it on. And also you can show it so much nicer than what is what is possible here. I just really like the short cords because then my stitches are never too far away from me. They pull themselves up on the left needle, more or less. Of course, it also helps that I always put a smaller tip in my left hand and the tip that I need to get gauge in my right hand. It's so much easier for the stitches to flow. And also, if I have to do some flat knitting, which you almost always have to. For this pattern, you have to knit flat past the sleeve openings here. But even in a sweater like this, a top-down raglan completely in the round, you're going to be purling for the short rows. And my purl stitches are way looser than my knit stitches. So the smaller needle tip in my left hand also helps with that. I want to show you a little detail on this sweater. This is a ribbing with a twisted knit, and often when you make a ribbing with a twisted rib, you will have holes over your purl stitches, and they will like pull into these holes and actually make them look even bigger. But one of my testers taught me a really nice method to avoid this. It is in the pattern, but what you do is before you start the ribbing, you work around where you knit one through the back loop and you knit one through the back loop. Then when you start your ribbing, you place your purl stitch over the twisted stitches, and then you start twisting the regular knit stitches. That really helps. It makes the transition from the stockinette into the ribbing so much nicer. So a little tip, as I said, is also in the pattern, but I also wanted to share the tip here. The pattern has come out today. There is a 20% discount until the end of the Knitathon. It's valid both on Ravelry and in my own web shop. You just add the code Knitathon and then you will get a 20% discount if you want to be knitting the cat number 7 along with me and a lot of other people. This version is knit in a very budget-friendly yarn. It's knit in Cascade Heritage. I actually don't know the colorway name or number. I don't have the label with me, but it's a really deep, dark navy blue. I think it's fairly true to color when I hold it here. I have really enjoyed working with this yarn. It is my first time working with the Cascade Heritage, but I have really enjoyed it. It is very easy to work with. And I am hoping that the fact that this is a sock yarn is gonna make it a resilient yarn, a yarn that can take some wear, because a classic neutral colored sweater with just a little twist is something that I am going to wear a lot. I'm doing it again. I can hear it, but it is probably something that I am going to reach for on a regular basis. Also because it's a lightweight sweater. It is a sock yarn and it is knit to a 23 stitch gauge, which means that it's a relatively open fabric. Very, very pleasant to wear. For the Knitathon, I'm going to cast on another cat number 7, my 4th. I'm going to be knitting that in some cotton, some mercerized fingering weight cotton, the Anne cotton from Circular Yarns. I have some left over from my crochet dress, and I have also a ball of it in a beautiful rust color. So I am going to be making the striped version, this one, for the Knitathon. I am a little bit well, what am I hesitant? I'm not sure that my arms are going to be able to be working with a cotton yarn for 24 hours straight. The thing about these plant fibers is they usually don't have any give. So if something needs to give, it's going to be my arm. So I'm going to need a backup project. I'm going to figure that out during the week. Another thing that I have been working on, and this is actually a plant-based fiber, so that's why I thought about this. Such a beautiful project bag from Tina Mai. She sells her bags on Instagram. She repurposes these old embroideries and old fabrics to make beautiful, beautiful project bags. In here, I have a sweater knit in Dropspell, which is a cotton, linen, and let me just see, blend. It does not say. It's cotton, linen, and something else. A secret. It's a lovely yarn. It is basically the same yarn as the Sandnes Line. I'm not able to tell the difference between the two yarns. Well, my bank can tell the difference. The Dropspell is much more budget friendly. The yarns are the same, only the color palette of the Sandnes is probably better. But seeing that I'm working with a white, I thought I'm going to go with Dropspell. I am actually working a drops pattern, and it is difficult to hold up because it's one of their old patterns from the 80s where you start, you knit them bottom up. That does not bother me. That's how I used to knit for many, many, many years until I found the top-down method. But yeah, almost done with the body. One more pattern repeat and I'm gonna start shaping the neckline. I already finished the back piece, so I am gonna be working on the front now. This is so pretty. I did make a lot of modifications, and if you go back to the last 2 episodes, I am talking about these modifications in detail. So I'm not going to go over that again today. I'm just going to mention that I did change the stitch pattern because I needed to accommodate for a lighter weight yarn. And yeah, it's working out beautifully. I am going to make this one short sleeved, so I don't have much to go. It's gonna be done very soon, but this is definitely one of those where I cannot knit on this for hours and hours because plant-based fiber. So but I have been picking it up, putting it down, and yeah, all throughout the week, and this is where I'm at. It's gonna be so nice. I am pretty sure that I actually knit this sweater back in the 80s, maybe the 90s. I knitted in the yarn recommended in the pattern, which is the Drops Paris, an Aran weight cotton, also in white, and I loved that thing. I loved it so much. I didn't even realize that I had knitted before until at some point my friend Ina, she wrote to me, didn't I knit something like this in the 80s? And I was like, oh, you probably did. And so did I. But you know, I loved it back then. I'm sure I'm gonna love it now. That one back then was knitted according to pattern, the same stitch pattern and the long sleeves. I am, as I said, gonna do short sleeves because I don't need another sweater. I mean, I don't need any knitwear, but I could do with another t-shirt. I love my knitted t-shirts for summer. Last whip of the week is this one, a beautiful project bag from Knitwear by Maki. She also sells her bags on Instagram. I am pretty sure that this is one of her special edition Knitathon bags. I can't remember, but I think so. But yeah, love her bags. They're always sturdy. They always have this handle. And what I will very often do is I will open them up and then I will roll down the top so that I have, yeah, like a bucket sitting next to me on the couch. Very, very convenient. Inside is my glorious project. Sweater number 21 from my favorite things knitwear. Knit in a beautiful yarn that I was gifted for my birthday, again by my friend Ina. This is Noro yarn. It is definitely luxury with the wool, silk and angora. I love the color changing effect. I talk about this on my last episode. I didn't really know how to use this yarn, how to find a pattern that would allow the yarn to really shine. Both the quality of the yarn, but also the color of it. But I actually think I nailed it. Modesty is not one of my best features. I think I nailed it with this pattern. I really think this pattern allows the yarn to shine. The angora comes to life because of the mesh pattern. So all of the fibers can just do their magic. And I really like how the color changes come out here. I've done nothing to manage my colors or manage my yarn. I have just been knitting, and when I ran out of yarn, I have been adding another skein, just split splicing the skeins together. I think it's beautiful. And on this one, I am really close to the ribbing on the body. I am going to knit it according to pattern, which means that it's not going to be a very long sweater. I love that because, yeah, I see this as a summer sweater. I am going to also do the long sleeves that are in the pattern. I see this as a summer knit because just, couldn't you picture this over shorts and some sneakers sitting on a beach at sunset? Oh, summer is just around the corner. Yeah, I love this. I love this project. I did have some trouble with, not with the pattern itself, but with the description of the pattern. I couldn't really figure out what yarn to use for it. But yeah, let me say, if you want to knit this, I think you can knit it with almost any yarn. Obviously, you're going to need something. In the pattern description, it says chunky. I wouldn't recommend a chunky yarn. I think the mesh pattern would be too tight in a chunky yarn. But any kind of sport weight or DK, probably even fingering, helped with some floof, or here an Aran weight that has some built-in floof. It's just beautiful. And the pattern itself is really well written. Your hand is being held all the way through. You always know what you're supposed to be doing. You always know how many stitches you're supposed to have. You have this European shoulder, which means that you cast on for the neck, and then you work increases, and then after you pick up stitches here to knit around over the shoulders and into the front. And the European shoulder often gives a really nice fit. Then you're just gonna pick up stitches for the sleeves here and knit them down. The pattern itself is so easy. It is so easy. Once you have knit one repeat of it, you will have it memorized, and you will probably also from the get-go be able to read your knitting to see where you're at and what you're supposed to be doing. So I really recommend this pattern. I am so excited to be wearing this sweater soon. And yeah, as I said, if I had focused on just one whip, I could easily have finished either one of them. But it's been really nice having something that I needed to pay attention to and something that was purely social knitting or TV knitting, just in the round. Something that was a bit hard. I mean, both of these are actually a bit hard on the arms. This one is knit, I think the pattern calls for a size 9mm needles. I'm using an 8mm. But yeah, heavier needles. It goes really fast, but it also takes its toll on your hands and arms. So it's been nice to have something to change back and forth and just, yeah, enjoy creating stitches rather than sweaters. I, of course, also have my sister socks, my last minute socks, my exercise socks. I'm not counting those towards whips because in my mind, this is something that is necessary. It is something that I need to always have going because it's the only way I can get myself to move my body. I am so happy to have finally cracked the code, how to get myself to move my body. I have one sock finished. I have the other one past the heel, knitting on the foot of the sock, and still enjoying it so much. The plan is to just make a bunch of these socks, all of them different, but still sister socks, so that should I lose one of them, I will still be able to use the other one together with some of the others. I do think that the next pair I'm going to cast on, or the next sock that I'm going to cast on, I am going to be still using up all of these minis and scraps and all the colorful things for the cuffs, heels, and toes. But then I'm going to use a white yarn rather than the charcoal gray. Wouldn't that look lovely for summer? I really think that would be so pretty. So I'm going to finish this sock and then I'm going to cast on another sister sock, but this time in white. So yeah, kind of excited about socks. Who would have known? They are just plain vanilla socks. I am changing my stitch count as I go, just because I want the sock to fit my foot perfectly. And I also want to accommodate for the fact that the yarns I'm using are not exactly the same weight. All of these minis and scraps, they're they're hand-dyed sock yarns. They're typically 400 meters to 100 grams, where the pattern scroll that I'm using for the sock itself is a little bit heavier. So I do start with, is it 58 stitches? No, it's not. I have 58 stitches for the leg. I have 62 for the cuff, and then I do some decreases so that I'm at 58 stitches for the leg, And then after the heel turn, I pick up a couple of extra stitches here. That also helps me to avoid any holes, so that I have 60 stitches as I'm knitting the foot. So those are the numbers that are good for my feet. I am working on size 2mm needles just because I'm a very relaxed knitter and I want my socks to be knit really tightly, but I don't want to strangle my stitches. I don't want to be pulling on it. So I'm just going down to a 2mm, and that gives me a really nice fabric. So not counting these towards my whips, they are just a given. They're gonna be here hopefully for a long, long time. That was it for the creative content this week. I didn't have anything new, so I guess this is gonna be a shorter episode, just an update on my current whips. This is gonna be the last episode before the Knitathon. I'm not gonna make an episode next week, but I really hope to see you for the Knitathon. It happens on Saturday 29 and Sunday 30th of March. We do start at 3 p.m. Central European time. If you go to my website, and it will be linked in the description box below, together with any patterns that I've been talking about. On my website is some information about the Knitathon. I really hope you're gonna join us. It's usually a lot of fun. So I will see you for the Knitathon. Until then, stay happy, stay safe, and keep knitting.